Hello friends, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. So last week, Kat from Paperback Dreams posted a video exactly like this one, but I was like, hey, I want to try that for myself. I will link her video in the description if you want to check it out. But as you already know from the title, today I will be talking about how I rate books and how I annotate my books. I've been wanting to make a video dedicated on these processes for a while, and now we're here. I know when I review books, I tend to go over how I rate books a little bit, but I thought I would just put it all in one video so that way it's just like clear and concise. Also, I did do a how I annotate my books video last year, or a little over a year ago I think, but I wanted to do a little updated version of my process because it has changed slightly. So without further ado, let's get started. So first, my rating system. Now chances are if you are in the reading book community, you know what Goodreads is. For those of you that don't, it's essentially an app that allows you to connect with others, learn what they're reading, allows you to rate and review books, and is overall just a pretty lit time. Link in the description if you want to follow me. You can organize all your favorite books there, and it's a great way to see other people's thoughts on books as well. That way it just saves time and all that kind of stuff, and it's pretty cool. Anyway, so Goodreads uses a 5-star rating system, and most of the book community does as well, myself included. I also use half stars, so in total, once I finish a book, there are 9 possible ratings I can go with. So I'm just gonna start off with the best and work my way down. So if I give a book a 5 out of 5 stars, it is perfection. There was nothing I would change about this book. It was so captivating in every way. I loved it. Some great examples of this are Caraval by Stephanie Garber, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, A Darker Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab, all fantastic books. They're books I would recommend fully. I just not only thought they were really well written, but I thought the story just hit different to say. And yeah, they're just the best. And so if I ever give a book a 5 out of 5 stars, you know it's a good one. Next up is 4.5. This is really close to a 5-star book, but my 5-star books are like top tier, 100% the best. Oftentimes 4.5 I'll give to books in a series where there was one that I liked a little bit more or a little less. But yeah, 4.5 is also a fantastic rating if I ever give that to a book. And as well, 4 out of 5 stars is also really good as well. 4 stars I like to use for mostly one of 2 things. One, either the book was really well written, I liked the characters and the plot, but I wasn't necessarily, it didn't hit the same as some of my favorites did, but I can recognize that it was a really solid read. Or I can give 4 stars to a book that I thought was really good, but just didn't match up to my expectations or wasn't my favorite as some of the other ones in the series. So for example, A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab, I gave 5 out of 5 stars to the first 2 books and then gave a 4 stars to A Conjuring of Light. I still liked A Conjuring of Light, but it didn't necessarily match up to the other 2 books, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Still really good, but didn't match up. Needless to say though, if I give a book anything 4 stars and higher, it is a solid read. I would very strongly recommend it. Next, we're slowly working our way down to a 3.5 stars. 3.5 is pretty good. If I gave this book, I'd recommend it. It's pretty solid, but there's a reason I didn't give it 4 stars because it wasn't necessarily my favorite. I enjoyed it, yes, but would I go on and on about it? No. And 3 stars just to tie it in there is just a good, solid book. Nothing really stands out about it, but I enjoyed the time reading it, and it was just good, you know? So 3.5 is a little bit better than just a solid book, but they're close to the same level. Alright, my battery just died. I don't really know if it's fine, but back to it. So next up, we're working our way down to a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Now this is the rating I'm often most conflicted with if you see me give this book a 2.5 out of 5 stars, because either I liked the book, but there was things that I recognized were not good, or I didn't like the book, but there was a beginning portion I liked, or something small. For example, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I liked the concept of the book and I liked the beginning of the book, but there were many portions in the book that I did not like as well. And then also last year I read The School for Good and Evil, and I've now changed my opinion on it, but I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars because I found stuff problematic, but in the end I still enjoyed the book. So I'm actually not really giving too many books 2.5 out of 5 stars. Nowadays I find out kind of put them either in a 2 or a 3, but that's just particularly if I'm really conflicted in how I feel about a book. Next is a 2 out of 5 stars. There's a clear reason why I did not like this book, but however there might have been some salvageable qualities about it. My most recent 2-star book is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This book, I did not like it, nor would I recommend it. However, there were definitely some things about this book that I did enjoy. Specifically in this book, the world building. That was something I really liked. However, I did not like the characters or the plot and how it was portrayed in the story, or the pacing. But there was a lot of good world building and a lot of questions that were answered. So hence, this book got a 2 stars from me. 2 stars I find pretty easy to give a book now, especially if I didn't enjoy it. I can easily recognize that I didn't enjoy it, but I can recognize that maybe some aspects of it were good. And then we have 1.5 and 1. These are very similar. Basically, they're just bad books. I don't know why anyone bought them, why publishers published them, and why anyone spent their time reading them. It sounds harsh, but it's true. The difference between a 1.5 and a 1.5 basically is there's one single small thing in the book that did not make me despise it with my entire being. For example, I believe the book is Fracture Me by Tahereh Mafi. I think it's book 2.5 in the Shatter Me series, if I'm not mistaken. It takes place in Adam's perspective. I hated this book. It was super boring, but the last 3 pages was the only thing I liked in that book, so hence it got a 1.5 instead of a 1 star. 1-star books, they're just, like I said, the worst. I would never want to reread them. They're just blatantly bad. Like, I can't even fathom the idea that someone would say they enjoyed this book. So for today, I've only been using Goodreads for 2020 and 2019. I never really rated books before then, so I only know my ratings within the last year and a half. However, in that time, I've only given 2 books 1-star reviews, and that is The Barcode Tattoo and Orcs and Crate. Both of those books, I cannot even fathom anyone liking, why people bought them, etc, etc, so hence they get a 1 star. Oftentimes, these books, either books that get 1 or 2 stars, are the most interesting books to talk about in reviews or to watch other people's reviews, because I always know I love Kat's rant reviews and read Cindy's rant reviews. So oftentimes you'll see me review books like that, or books I really, really liked. But yeah, that's kind of my system. I hope that makes sense. I hope it does. I think it does. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. But now we're gonna move on to how I annotate my books. So last year, I don't really entirely remember what I talked about in that video. I didn't really want to rewatch it because it's probably cringy, as a lot of my old content is, but that's why we're here now, to hopefully make it less cringy. I will say I do remember a couple things that I will touch on from those videos, but into my new process. So nowadays, I mainly have 2 methods of annotating a book. The first one I'm gonna share is the most common one that I use, and it's simply just writing quotes in my phone on the Notes app and then dog-earing the page in the book. I used to not want to dog-ear pages, but now I don't care. It's my own copy of the book, so why the heck not? It's easier to find in the end, and so oftentimes I will just do that. I know in my video I did last year, I talked about how I would also write them in my notebook instead of my phone as an option as well, but I kind of gave up on that because, especially since I do a lot of reviews on books, it was far too much work for me to have to write everything in my notebook and then type it back on the computer. So hence now what I do is I just type whatever my notes were on my phone, and that way I can just copy and paste them to my computer when I make my review. So that's normally what I do. I'll just dog-ear the page and write the note down. The other method I use is not one I use as often anymore, simply because it's a lot of work, and oftentimes when I'm trying to review a book and get the review up super fast, it takes a lot more work. However, I do enjoy that process a lot more. I think it's a lot more rewarding to see all your work at the end. You can easily find things, and I do color coordinated tabs. And basically what I do, this is my most annotated book ever, as you can tell from the colossal amount of sticky notes here. And so what I will do is, since I'm obviously ruining my copy of the book anyways, on the inside cover, I will write what all the colors mean. It kind of just also depends on what color sticky notes I have, so there's not a specific color I use. It's more or less just whatever I feel like for that specific book, but I'll write down whatever I feel like tabbing in the book, and then, let's say for example, purple is plot, I will simply just go to the purple tabs in the book, and it will look something like this. We'll underline the quote and then write what it means to me in the margin of the book. Sometimes my annotations will be insightful things I noticed, foreshadowing, a good written sentence, writing, world building, or it will be, oh my god, yes, they finally got together, or something random like that. So there's honestly no rhyme or reason to what I write, and not all of this stuff is insightful stuff, because let's be real, if I'm reading some YA fantasy stuff, there's only so much professional stuff you can say. Probably a lot of this is just me enjoying my time reading it, and also taking note of the things I thought were done well, and also not done well at the same time. So that's basically how I annotate my books. I think honestly, for me to do reviews, it's easier if I type it all on my phone. That way it's all in one place. I can find it super easily. But if I just want to this is gonna sound so lame. If I want to just dive a little bit deeper into a book and remember some of my favorite moments, I do prefer using the sticky tab method, because then I can easily find some of my favorite moments. I've often done that with The Gathering of Shadows and just gone back to my favorite quotes in the book and just relived some of my favorite moments. moments, which I think is super fun. So I do like both methods. I like the physical annotating method a little bit more just to have fun with, but in terms of like practicality and reviewing books, I do prefer just typing it straight into my phone and just dog-earing the page. It makes the whole process a little simpler. But yeah, it's not really rocket science, but that's just all my thoughts and processes on how I review and annotate my books. Like I already said, if you have any questions for me, feel free to leave me a comment down below. I really do enjoy reading books. I think it's great to like always look back on as well and also see how your thoughts change. For example, I had a huge change in my thoughts on The School for Good and Evil, which I'll be talking about very soon. It's nice to see how your thoughts can change and all that kind of stuff. And as well as annotating, I have yet to do this, but I'm super excited for the day where I get to reread one of my favorite books and see all my annotations in it, because it's kind of like getting to hear my own thoughts for the first time because I forget them, but like, I don't know. I'm gonna be rereading the Shades of Magic trilogy again, as well as Red Queen, and I'm super excited to like see all my old thoughts and like how I feel now. Anyways, enough blabbering from me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below. Like I said, if you have any questions or you want to share your own methods, let me know. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video and I will see you very soon in the next one. So until then, bye.